My beloved child, do not dismiss the things that seem very small as they pass through your life. There are times when I do not begin with great upheavals, but with a timely pause, a door that remains temporarily closed, a number that causes your heart to sink, or a quiet uneasiness that lingers in your mind and will not go away. That is not my neglect, nor is it a sign that I am leaving you to struggle on your own. Even in those moments that appear ordinary, I am gently touching your conscience to remind you that the old season no longer fits. I am calling you to awaken, not with loud noise, but with a stirring deep enough for you to realize that the time has come to look again, to reorder what has been scattered, and to walk a different way. What lies ahead of you is not merely a change in numbers, in income and expenses, or in the way you build your future. What I am preparing is far greater than what your eyes can measure. I am leading you into a new stretch of the journey, where you no longer live with the mindset of barely surviving from day to day, but learn to walk in the fullness that comes from me. Many times, you think the issue is only about money, but I see deeper than that. I see fears that have clung to you for a very long time. I see invisible limits that have caused you to shrink back. I see old failures that have made you afraid to hope again. That is why what I want to do is not only touch your hands, but also heal your way of thinking, so that when blessing comes, your heart will be wide enough to receive it and to steward it well. You need to know that whenever light begins to glimmer in a person's heart, darkness does not remain still. The enemy is not greatly concerned when you are simply circling in weariness, delay, and the weak belief that your life will never truly change. But when you begin to lift up your head, begin to believe that I still have a good path prepared for you, and begin to step out of the familiar place of stagnation, he will try to sow doubt, pressure, and voices that make you want to retreat. Do not be surprised by that. The battle becomes clearer not because I have moved away from you, but because you are drawing closer to what I have promised. 1 Peter 5:8 reminds you to be watchful. But I do not say that to make you afraid. I say it so that you will understand the need to walk with discernment. Keep your heart in me, and not let what is temporary steal what is eternal. Right now, you are standing at an important boundary line. You can continue to let circumstances determine your vision, or you can let my word direct your steps. Faith is not the denial of reality. It is the courage to believe that reality does not have the final word. There are things you do not yet see, but that does not mean I have not already begun to act. There are doors that have not yet opened, but that does not mean I do not hold the key. Hebrews 11:1 says that faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So I am teaching you not to build your hope only on what is already in your hands, but on the one who holds both your present and your tomorrow. What is coming is not only the result of your own effort, but also my answer to the months in which you endured in silence, learned, and refused to give up. I have heard every prayer you have whispered, even the ones that never fully became words. There have been nights when you did not know what to say except your weariness. There have been mornings when all you could do was look up at the sky in silence with a heavy heart. But my child, I do not only hear well-formed prayers, I also understand the sighs no one else notices. Romans 8:26 reminds you that the Holy Spirit himself intercedes for you with groanings too deep for words. So do not think that because you no longer pray with the same strength as before, I am no longer listening. I am still there, still taking notice, still gathering every tear and every moment you try to stand firm in the middle of unspoken burdens. But remember this, when I open a new season before you, I do not give you relief alone. I also give you responsibility. Blessing from me is not meant for you to shut yourself away inside a new sense of safety, but for your life to become a stream through which others are sustained. I am preparing you for a more mature place, where you will no longer think only about whether you yourself have enough, but will learn to become an open hand to those in need, a word of encouragement to those in despair, and a source of help to the people I place along your path. 2 Corinthians 9:8 says that I am able to make all grace abound toward you, so that in all things, at all times, you may have all sufficiency and abound in every good work. That is the picture I am painting for your life, not merely to escape lack, but to enter into abundance with purpose. My beloved child, many times you have cried out to me for something so great that you imagined, when the answer finally came, it would have to flash like lightning across the sky before it could truly be called a miracle. But my ways often begin with things that are very small, very hidden, and very deep. I sow my answer into your life the way a sower plants seed into the ground above the surface. All still seems quiet, yet underneath, life has already begun to move in secret. So what you need right now is not merely to wait and see whether what you long for will happen, but to learn how to recognize the signs I am placing around you, and to prepare your heart for what is coming. Matthew 13:31-32 speaks of a mustard seed, so tiny, yet when it grows, it becomes a great tree. My work often moves in that same way, humble in its beginning, yet far greater in its outcome than you have ever imagined. Soon, you will enter days that will no longer be like those before. A few doors will open when you least expect them. A few new connections will appear. A few opportunities will come that make you both glad and hesitant. And even a few unfamiliar trials may leave you unsure whether they are obstacles or stepping stones. When these things come, do not reject them too quickly, just because they do not look like the plan you once drew for yourself. But neither should you rush to seize everything based on momentary emotion. Bring each matter before me. Proverbs 3:5-6 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths." I do not only give opportunities, I also give wisdom, so that you may know which door to walk through, which path to avoid, and which season calls for waiting. I know that when you first begin to lift your foot to move forward, your heart will not instantly be at peace. Questions will slip into your mind. Am I enough? Am I only imagining this? What if I go forward and fall again? But my child, do not let fear become your guide. Your security does not rest in how strong you are, but in the fact that I am the one who has gone before you. When I open a new way, I am never confused about your journey. Isaiah 45:2 says, "I will go before you. You may not yet know everything that lies ahead, but I do. You may not yet see yourself as ready, but I never call you into a place where my grace cannot sustain you. There is something I want you to learn again. Do not look for me only in major events. I often place my presence within the most ordinary moments of a day. A word someone speaks unintentionally, yet it touches exactly what has been weighing on your heart. A sudden softening within you at the very moment you thought you were about to collapse. A familiar verse of scripture that suddenly shines as though it were written especially for your situation today. A brief encounter that leaves you feeling reminded, lifted, and redirected toward what is right. You often think that my voice must come with great upheaval in order to be clear. Yet I often choose to speak more gently than the noise of the world, so that I may teach you to turn your heart back to me. Just as in 1 Kings 19:12, I did not reveal myself through the violent wind or the earthquake, but through a still, gentle voice. Those who learn to be quiet before me will realize that I have never been absent. Many times, you wonder why it is so hard to recognize my leading, but your heart has simply become too full of other sounds. Worries about tomorrow, the pressure to please others, fear of lack, the rush of daily life, the endless stream of thoughts that never seem to stop. All these things crowd into the space that should belong to me. It is not that I have stopped speaking, but that your mind has grown so weary that it can no longer distinguish the sound of peace. Psalm 46:10 says, "Be still, and know that I am God." Stillness is not weakness. Stillness is an act of trust. When you are willing to pause before me, you are saying that my voice matters more than the voice of confusion within your own heart. Therefore, each morning, before the new day sweeps you away, give me a moment of true stillness. I do not require you to speak perfect words or pretend to be stronger than you truly are. I am not looking for a religious appearance. I am looking for an honest heart. Sometimes, a brief cry for help, a sigh, or even a very quiet prayer such as, "Lord, lead me today," is already pleasing to me. Psalm 34:18 says that I am near to the brokenhearted and save those who are crushed in spirit. I hear both what you say aloud and what you carry only in your tears. And then, in my own way, I will answer, with peace placed within your heart, with a passage of Scripture suddenly becoming alive to you, with a gentle assurance that no power in this world could ever produce. My beloved child, I know there are days when you look at your life and think that this struggle will remain your shadow forever. You have lived within limitations for so long that you have begun to see them as an unchangeable destiny. When you watch others step into the very things they have long desired with what seems like ease, while you keep waiting, keep asking, keep knocking, and the door still is not opened, your heart aches in a very quiet way. You may not speak it aloud, but I hear it clearly. I know even the questions you hide, the fears you do not want to admit because you are afraid of becoming even more weary, whether I still truly remember you, whether your prayers are too weak to reach heaven. But my child, hear me say this with all my faithfulness. Not for a single second have I taken my eyes off you. Isaiah 49:15 says that a mother may forget her child, yet I will not forget you. Your lack is not outside my sight, and the tears that fall in the night have not fallen into oblivion. I know you have walked through stretches of life so long that your soul has grown tired. There have been mornings when you woke up and had to gather every bit of strength just to keep going, not because you were unwilling to move forward, but because your hope has been worn down again and again. There have been nights when your heart felt as dark as an unlit room, and you sat there with efforts that had not yet borne fruit, with unfinished plans, with the feeling that you had done everything you could and still saw no meaningful change. But you must understand that the dry season is not the final chapter I am writing for your life. There are times when I allow the ground to crack, not to destroy the field, but to prepare it for a harvest that is more deeply rooted, more enduring, and greater than you have ever imagined. Just as Psalm 126:5 says, that those who sow in tears shall reap with songs of joy. I am reminding you that every pain you have endured in silence is not meaningless loss. It is becoming the foundation of a song of restoration that you have not yet fully heard today. You may think you are at the very end of a weary road, but often that very place is the threshold of a new beginning. I have seen that you did not let go, even after so many times, receiving only silence in return. I have seen that you kept your heart soft when circumstances were strong enough to make a person bitter. I have seen that you still opened your hands to help others, even when you yourself had little. I have seen that you still tried to hold on to a sincere prayer, even when your faith felt like nothing more than a small flame. Do not think those things have vanished into emptiness. Not one seed you have sown in faithfulness have I failed to keep. Galatians 6:9 says that we must not grow weary in doing good, for in due season we shall reap if we do not lose heart. That is not merely a word of encouragement for you to comfort yourself with. It is a declaration of the spiritual law I am working out in your life. The harvest may not yet be visible before your eyes, but it is drawing near with steps you cannot yet measure. Therefore, do not let the present narrow your vision. Do not let unpaid bills, doors that have not yet opened, or desires that still remain shapeless cause you to doubt my goodness. I am not ruled by your urgency, yet I have never been late. Ecclesiastes 3:11 reminds you that everything is beautiful in its time. When I do not place into your hands at once the thing you have asked for, it is not because I am indifferent, but because I see farther than your passing emotions. Some blessings must be ripened in time, just as fruit must remain on the branch until it is sweet, and grain must pass through sun and rain before it becomes full. Waiting does not mean there is an empty space where my hand is absent. Often, in the very moments when you think heaven is most silent, I am arranging things your natural eyes cannot yet see. Lamentations 3:25-26 says that the Lord is good to those who wait for him, to the soul that seeks him. It is good to hope and wait quietly for the salvation of the Lord. I am teaching you to trust my faithfulness, even when your clock and my plan do not seem to align. There is something you often do not fully understand. I am not keeping you in this season to punish you, but to make you mature enough for something greater. If I were to place a blessing in your hands too early, while your inner life is not yet steady, the very thing sent to lift you up could become a burden that pulls you down. I love you too much to give you something that would harm your soul simply because you are impatient. So in the days when the soil of your heart feels turned over, dug deep, dry, and empty, do not think I have abandoned you. A sower must soften the ground before planting season. A gardener must help the roots grow deep before the tree can bear fruit. In the same way, I am enlarging your inner capacity. I am strengthening the roots of your faith so that when the day of blessing comes, you will not merely touch it and lose it, but will be firm enough to preserve it, steward it, and walk rightly in what I entrust to you. Colossians 2:7 reminds you to be rooted and built up in me. That is not a small detail, but the secret that keeps you from being shaken when the new season truly arrives. So, my child, do not call this stretch of the journey meaningless. Do not look at your present lack and conclude that this is all your life will ever be. What you are going through is not a sentence, it is a preparation process. What I am doing is not only changing the circumstances around you, but also forming a new person within you deeper, steadier, humbler, and more truly dependent on me than before. The time will come when you look back and understand that those very days when nothing seemed abundant were the place where I taught you to recognize the true source of your life. And when the new season opens, you will not step into it merely as someone trying to escape poverty, but as someone who has learned trust, gratitude, and maturity. Philippians 4:19 says that I will supply all your need according to my riches in glory by Christ Jesus. Keep your heart anchored in that promise. I have not forgotten you. I have not ignored a single cry that has risen from your heart. Your season is not dead, it is being kept by me. And it may well be that what you call the final stretch of exhaustion today is actually the threshold of the help and restoration I appointed for you long ago. My beloved child, I know you are tired, not the kind of tiredness that lingers in the body after a long day, but the quiet wearing down of someone who has pushed for too long. Someone who has forced themselves to keep moving, even when the heart was nearly drained of strength. I see you making use of every hour, seizing every opportunity, trying to manage everything within your reach, hoping your life might become a little better and your future a little brighter. Your mouth still says that you trust me, yet deep within, waves of anxiety keep rising without rest. You fear that you have not done enough, that you are moving more slowly than others, that one day you will look back and realize you gave everything you had and were still left behind. But today I want to place this piece into the deepest part of you. True prosperity does not begin with hands that never stop working, but with a heart that knows how to surrender, so that my grace may move freely. What makes your life strong and lasting is not merely your ability to carry heavy things, but my presence in every step you take. I do not in any way overlook your diligence. I see the spirit in you that refuses to give up, and I delight in the fact that you do not surrender in the face of hardship. But you must understand that there is a very thin line between hard work that is led by faith and toil that is driven by fear. When you work with a heart full only of pressure, when you keep striving because you are afraid of lacking, afraid of falling behind, afraid of losing, then what is pushing you forward is no longer wisdom, but burden. Effort without grace will leave your soul dry. It may produce a great deal of activity, but it will not always bring forth the right fruit in the right season. My grace is different. Grace does not make you lazy, but it causes what you do to carry life, direction, and support that your own strength could never produce. There are doors I will not let you force open by your own will, because I do not want you to enter them under the illusion that you yourself are the source of every achievement. I love you far too much to let you reach some height, only to lose the heart that knows how to depend on me. Remember what my word says in Ephesians 2:8-9. It is by grace that you have been saved, through faith, and this is not from yourselves. It is the gift of God, not by works, so that no one can boast. If even the salvation of your soul, the greatest, deepest, and most eternal gift does not come from your own merit, then why do you so easily assume that the blessings on earth can only come through exhausting yourself to the very end? You are trying to turn a gift into wages, to turn grace into a reward for performance. While I want you to learn a deeper truth, the good things from my hand are given to those who know how to trust, not only to those who know how to struggle. I am not against your sowing, but I want you to stop seeing yourself as the field, the rain, the sunlight, the harvest season, and even the one who gives the increase. 1 Corinthians 3:7 makes it plain. Neither the one who plants nor the one who waters is anything, but only God, who makes things grow. When you understand this, your heart will no longer stay tense, and your hands will work in freedom rather than in fear. Many times you look at yourself and ask, with what I have, how could it ever be enough? That is not unfamiliar to me. Gideon also looked at his circumstances and trembled. He also looked at his smallness and could hardly believe that I had truly chosen him. But I did not call him because he was strong. I called him because through his weakness, my power would be revealed. I reduced the army from many to few, not to drive him into despair, but so that he would have nothing left to cling to except me. Judges 7 is a reminder to you that when I act, I am not limited by the familiar calculations of man. I can use 300 men to accomplish what even 30,000 could not imagine. I can fill a boat with fish after a fruitless night. As Luke 5 tells us, through a single act of obedience from one who was already weary, I can make a little oil not run dry, a little flour not run out, and a little weakness become the very place where my strength comes to rest. What I have always sought in you is not a flawless appearance or an ability that makes everyone stand in awe. What I seek is a heart willing to trust me more than it trusts its own fear. So, my child, do not use productivity as the measure of your worth. Do not let yourself be defined by how much you accomplish today, how much you earn, whether you are moving faster than others, or how far behind you may seem. The world is very skilled at building systems of comparison that make you feel as though you are never enough. But in my kingdom, success is not weighed by the noise of achievement, but by the faithfulness of your heart. A life that pleases me is not necessarily a life admired by many. Often it is a life that knows how to obey in silence, that does what is right, even when no visible result has appeared yet, and that keeps a humble heart even when I begin to lift it up. Micah 6:8 reminds you that what I require is not some grand display, but to act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. When you lay down the addiction to proving yourself, only then will you have room to receive the affirmation that comes from me. I know there are times when you look at others and quietly think that they are moving faster, have more, and seem to reach things more easily. But every path I write has its own rhythm. Comparison will blur your eyes to what I am quietly building within you. Some are given things early, but that does not mean they will keep them for long. Some move quickly, but that does not mean they are moving in the right direction. As for you, I am forming depth before I enlarge your borders. I am teaching you to stand firm before I lift you higher. I am teaching you to recognize the true source of provision before I place more in your hands to steward. For a blessing without a foundation can easily produce pride, but a blessing built on humility and trust will bear peace, gratitude, and the ability to bless others. 2 Corinthians 12:9 says that my grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. That is not merely a word for the moments when you fail and try to comfort yourself. It is a principle I want you to live by every day. The less you rely on yourself, the more room there is for my power to work in you. So today, let go of the fear of being left behind. When you trust that I am the one who provides, you will stop living with a grasping spirit. When you truly believe that I am the one who makes a way, you will no longer feel the need to push and struggle for a place among the crowd. When you understand that my grace is the root of all that lasts, you will work diligently but not desperately. You will walk responsibly but not under the crushing weight of anxiety. Psalm 1:2 reminds you that unless the Lord builds the house, the builders labor in vain. It is useless to rise early, stay up late, and eat the bread of toil. For I give sleep to those I love. I do not want you to live as though everything rests on your shoulders. I want you to learn to do your part, and then peacefully entrust the rest to me. There, you will see that grace does not make you passive, but steadies your steps. It does not diminish you, but causes what you do to bear fruit. It does not remove your responsibility, but it does remove the burden of having to save yourself. And that is where you truly begin to taste the abundance that comes from heaven. My beloved child, pause for a moment and look at what is in your hands right now. I have given you the days of your present season, and I want to know where you are sowing them. I have entrusted you with a small portion of material things, and what I am watching is not merely how much you have, but what kind of heart you bring to that portion. I have also placed around you relationships, people to love, to care for, and through whom you can learn how to live with kindness and faithfulness. Many times, you tell yourself that one day you will live more wisely when conditions improve, that you will manage well when you have more, that you will behave more graciously when life becomes less stressful. But my child, the secret of growth does not begin when your hands are full. It begins while they still hold little. The way you handle small things today reveals what you will do with greater things tomorrow. Luke 16:10 says that whoever is faithful in very little will also be faithful in much. I do not look at this in order to condemn you, but to teach you, shape you, and prepare you to enter a broader season without losing the balance of your soul. You need to understand that a heart that does not know how to treasure a small cup will hardly be able to safeguard a precious vessel once it is placed in its hands. I have seen many receive increase too quickly while their inner life was still too shallow, and then the very thing once called a blessing became the place where they stumbled. Some were lifted up but lost their peace. Some became prosperous but lost their gentleness. Some stepped into a higher place but no longer knew how to bend down and love those beneath them. I do not want that to happen to you. I want your heart to remain quiet when I enlarge your borders. I want you to keep your humility when I add more to your life. I want you, when I bring you into a new position, to still remember how to serve, and to remember that everything you have comes from me and was never meant to feed your ego. John 13 recalls the image of me washing the disciples' feet. That is how I teach you that being lifted up does not mean you stop humbling yourself. And being given more does not mean living more for yourself. Do not be too quick to treat slowing down or delay as a sign that I am refusing you. There are seasons when I do not throw the door wide open, not because I am withholding something good, but because I am strengthening what is within you. When the new season truly arrives, you will not have much time to practice carrying responsibility. So, this present moment is where I am training your responses. This is the time for you to learn self-control when no one is watching, to learn obedience in things that seem ordinary, to keep your heart tender when what you long for has not yet appeared, and to live by principle instead of being pulled around by emotion. I am not only the one who opens the way for you to enter a new room, I am also the one who teaches you how to remain in that room without ruining what I have entrusted to you. True blessing is not only found in receiving, but also in knowing how to preserve, nurture, multiply, and pass on what has been given in the right way. Proverbs 4:23 reminds you to guard your heart above all else, for everything that gives life flows from it. If the inner part of you is not guarded, then even the best outward gift can become a great test. You once thought that being blessed meant arriving at a destination, as though once you reached it, everything would be complete. But I want to open your eyes so you can understand that being blessed is a journey of stewardship, maturity, and learning how to live rightly with what you have received. You are not only called to be a beneficiary, but to become a steward of the things that come from grace. And a steward does not live by passing impulses. They do not consume everything because of a fleeting desire. They know when to keep, when to sow, when to invest, when to wait, and when to give with the right heart. In Matthew 25, through the parable of the talents, I show you that I delight in the one who uses what has been entrusted wisely and responsibly. I do not want you to live only at the level of barely surviving. I want you to become a channel, so that what I place in your hands will not stop with you, but will continue onward into the lives of others who need support, generosity, and love. So do not wait for some imagined future day before you begin to live wisely. Start now with what is already in front of you. Even a small amount of money can be managed with reverence toward me. Even a limited amount of time can be arranged with wisdom. Even a fragile relationship can be cared for with sincerity, patience, and gratitude. Even a promise left unfinished can still be carried forward in a spirit of faithfulness. What I am looking for is not a person who never makes mistakes, but a heart that is willing to learn, willing to be corrected, and willing to remain faithful with what has been entrusted today. 1 Corinthians 4:2 says that what is required of stewards is that they be found faithful. It is that faithfulness that opens the way for increase, not because I am forced to give more, but because I am pleased when I see you growing, becoming steadier, and gaining the strength to carry greater things without losing yourself. Therefore, my beloved child, do not despise the present season just because it is not yet radiant. This is not a meaningless stretch of time, but the school of your soul, the habits you build today, the way you handle small things today, the way you respond when you do not yet have much today. All of these are becoming the measure for the days ahead. When you learn to manage little things with love for me, you are telling me that you do not only want the gift, but that you also want to become fit for the responsibility that comes with it. And I take great joy in seeing a child who is willing to let me teach in this way. For the one who is faithful with little will not remain with little forever. At the appointed time, I will enlarge what is in your hands, not only so that you may have more, but so that through you, my goodness may flow outward, bear fruit, and reach many more lives. My beloved child, I know your heart is looking ahead. After so many days of praying, enduring, and faithfully pressing on, you have begun to feel as though a new door is very near. You believe that one day the things you have sown in tears will take shape. And deep within you there is also a very natural expectation. When a good season opens, the people around you will surely rejoice with you, love you more, and stand beside you with sincere support. But today, I want to teach you a truth that is not easy to hear, yet is necessary for the maturity of your soul. When I begin to shine my light more clearly upon your life, not every heart around you will be glad. Sometimes, the very moment my grace becomes more visible upon you is also the moment what has been hidden in the hearts of others is brought into the light. Do not be too quick to be surprised when some people who once walked very closely beside you while you were still in a low place, still struggling, still unnoticed, begin to change when your path starts opening up. That does not always happen because you have changed for the worse. Many times, it is simply because the movement in your life forces them to look at the stillness in their own. Light does not need to speak in order to condemn the darkness. Yet its mere presence is enough to keep darkness from hiding as it once did. There are people who are not troubled by what you say, but by what you are living. They see doors opening for you, and instead of giving thanks, their hearts are stirred by comparison, by a sense of being left behind, or by an uneasiness they themselves have never wanted to face. So you may encounter cold silences instead of congratulations, heavy looks instead of support, and conversations behind your back arising from places you once thought were safest. But, my child, do not let that make you panic. Being misunderstood does not always mean you are walking the wrong path. There are times when opposition itself is a sign that you are moving in the right direction. I warned you beforehand in my word that division can sometimes arise from the places closest to you. Matthew 10:36 says that a man's enemies may be those of his own household. I do not say this to plant suspicion in you or to make you close your heart to everyone, but to make you watchful. When a new season comes, not only do your circumstances change, the relationships around you are tested as well. Whatever has been built on truth will stand. Whatever has been held together by habit, advantage, control, or a false sense of familiarity will begin to crack. There are certain separations I allow, not because I want you to live in loneliness, but because I am rescuing you from ties you once called familiar. Though in truth, they were holding your feet back from what I intended to do. Some people are only meant to walk with you for a certain stretch, not for the whole journey, and that is not your failure. It is my sifting. When I light a lamp in your life, that light does not only help you see the path ahead, it also reveals the true nature of the environment around you. Ephesians 5:13 says that everything exposed by the light becomes visible. This is true not only of open sin, but also of motives, pretense, envy, and unhealthy attachments that have hidden beneath a kind appearance. You will begin to discern who truly rejoices when you are lifted up, and who only loved your presence as long as you remained smaller than they were. You will realize who loves you for who you are, and who was only comfortable while you still needed them, still depended on them, still had not yet been elevated. Do not be too crushed when you see these things. Exposure is not meant to destroy you, but to free you. I allow hidden things to come into the open, so that you may learn to walk in wisdom rather than naivete. I am teaching you that not everyone who walks with you for a season is called to walk with you to the end. There will be people who say you have changed. There will be people who accuse you of becoming distant simply because you no longer live as you once did. There will be people who call your maturity pride, your discernment coldness, and your obedience to me a betrayal of their expectations. But remember this, not every opinion spoken over you is true judgment. Some people only call you different because they were used to a version of you that was easy to please, easy to pull backward, easy to make sacrifice what was right for the sake of keeping peace. But if your heart is still tender before me, if you still love without bitterness, if you remain humble without losing the truth, then you do not need to shrink yourself to satisfy those who do not want to see you move forward. Galatians 1:10 reminds you that if you are still trying to please people, you cannot be a servant of Christ. I have not called you to live so that everyone will understand you correctly. I have called you to live faithfully to what I have entrusted to you. Do not apologize simply because I am blessing you. Do not draw back just to keep others from feeling uncomfortable. Do not dim the light I have placed within you merely to preserve an outward peace. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden, and a lamp that is lit is not placed under a bowl, but on a stand to give light to the whole house. Just as Matthew 5:14-15 says, light does not need to defend itself before darkness. Light only needs to keep shining. Your part is not to explain yourself to every person who misunderstands you, nor to bow under the pressure of jealousy or coldness. Your part is to keep your heart upright, walk in love, and let me deal with the things that are being exposed beneath the light of my presence upon your life. My beloved child, a new season does not only bring increase, it also requires a new strength within you. You must learn to remain in me rather than live on the applause of people. You must understand that solitude is sometimes the hallway leading into deeper intimacy with me. When some voices around you grow quiet, you will hear mine more clearly. When certain hands no longer hold on to you as they once did, you will realize that my hand has never let you go. When some relationships reveal their true nature, you will stop building the foundation of your security on things that are fragile. Psalm 27:10 says that even if your father and mother forsake you, the Lord will receive you. How much more? Then, if others walk away, will I still remain your steadfast refuge? Therefore, keep walking in the light I give you. Keep your heart free from bitterness. Keep your mouth from over-explaining yourself. And keep your eyes fixed on me instead of looking around to measure the reactions of others. What I am doing in you is real. The increase I have for you does not need to be validated by the approval of the crowd. I only ask that you continue in humility, continue in faithfulness, continue in love, and continue to shine. Then, in time, whatever is false will fall away. Whatever is true will remain. And you will see that the separation I allowed was not meant to make you poorer in love, but freer for my purpose. I am not only blessing you, I am teaching you how to carry that blessing without losing your simplicity, without losing your tenderness, and without losing yourself in the process of being lifted up.